Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. I'm going to talk a little bit today, encourage you along the lines of something that the Lord spoke to me a little under a year ago, and it is obedience, not perfection. Now, if you're one of those people, I'm going to tell you right up, if you're one of those that when the Lord speaks to you to do something, you run right out and you do it and you don't wait. This is not for you today. You can just turn it off now. But if you're one of those that the Lord speaks to you and tells you to do something, but you hesitate, you don't want to step out because you haven't perfected it yet, or you haven't mastered it yet, or it's just not ready yet, so you hesitate to step out and then you wait, and the day of like having it ready and perfect never comes. So if that's you, then stay with me today. So anyways, I have obviously had the Lord speak to me and ask me to step out into things and do things, and I can say that immediate obedience is always the better option. You know, when I was growing up, I was always told or heard the term, you know, delayed obedience is disobedience, and so that's a toughie, but it's true. Like when we delay our obedience, we're not stepping right out into what the Lord's asking us to do, you know, it's disobedience. So I'm talking a little bit today, and again, I'm just looking at notes so I make sure I don't forget anything. We have to learn that, first of all, when the Father asks us to do something, he's very purposeful when he's asking us to do something, and that's why it's so important that we obey, because I have found that there's many layers and things that it impacts when we step out. There's many people that are impacted by our obedience. You know, there's things in us that's impacted, and we grow as we obey the Lord. I love something that Terry Savelle Foy says. She says, someone is waiting on the other side of your obedience. So you stepping out into what the Lord's asking you to do, there's someone on the other side of that that's waiting for that. Whatever it is that you have that the Lord is saying, step out into this, there's someone that's waiting for that, right? So it's so important. So there's so many different levels, and the Lord asks us to do something. He's very purposeful, very intentional, and there are reasons why he's asking us to do what he's asking us to do. So I'm going to share with you today one of the scenarios that I've experienced here recently in my life, something that the Lord has asked me to step out into. He was nudging me to do something, and I put it off because it was just really never good enough to step out into. For years and years, I desired to play an instrument, so I could accompany myself when I sang. I mean, I've been singing all my life since I was 5. I mean, I remember being in my room worshiping the Lord, singing with my homemade tambourine with paper plates and rice in the middle, and a stand upright vacuum for my microphone. I mean, I've just always sang. I love it. It's just always kind of been what I've done, but I've always wanted to have an instrument, be able to play, but it was always, I dabbled a little bit in piano when I was little, but it was always frustrating for me because I could pick out the notes and the chords by ear, and that was quicker for me than having to sit and learn to read the music. So lessons were just frustrating. I was just like, I'm just gonna sing. Like, who needs to practice with an instrument? So anyway, years go by, as most of you are kind of probably familiar with. Time passes and you kind of lose those desires, those things that you once wanted to do. But the Lord spoke to me strongly last year that it was really time to buckle down and learn an instrument, to learn to play, so that I could accompany myself, you know, leading worship. I would be able to do that. And so he said, it's time. You need to learn, you know, learn guitar. Just do that. And I figured, well, guitar is easier. It's easier to carry a guitar around in a case than it is a big keyboard. So I thought, you know what? Okay, guitar it is. I've tried guitar before for a few months, like years ago, and it just never clicked for me. And I just, again, I was just frustrated. I'm just like, I'm gonna be a singer. I'm just gonna sing, you know, I can sing a cappella, who needs it, right? But the Lord said, it's time. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. So, and the Lord helped me so much. I did buckle down. A sweet friend of mine actually encouraged me to start speaking this over myself. I was going to share this with you guys as a bonus. So every time I would practice, I would declare that I learned to play the guitar all to the glory of God. It's easy for me to learn and quick for me to understand. And this, by the way, is based on the scripture out of Daniel 1:17, where it says, and God gave these 4 youths great ability to learn. Like he equipped them, gave them great ability to learn. And so I love it in the Living Translation. It actually words it this way. God gave these 4 young men an unusual aptitude for understanding every aspect of literature and wisdom. So if you're struggling today to learn something, I'm going to encourage you to start speaking that over yourself today. So that's what I did. So every time I would go to practice, I would just speak that over myself. It's easy for me to learn, quick for me to understand. I play the guitar all for the glory of God. So, and all of a sudden things just started clicking. Sure enough, like as I would practice, I would just be like things that didn't make sense before. I'm like, oh, I get that now. So anyways, well, then the first opportunity came like within a month for me to actually play the guitar, to lead worship, sing while I'm playing, right, for my instrument. So an opportunity came. I was actually leading a young adult retreat with the young adult group from my church, and we would do services in the morning and then the evening with worship and a message. And this one particular morning, I felt really strongly that I was supposed to lead from the guitar and worship, and lead worship from guitar. So I made arrangements with the worship team to do that morning. I'd only been practicing for about a month, so chords were still a little shaky, some of them were. And I remember thinking, I was in my room and I was about to go down so we could sound check everything. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like honestly, what have I done? Because I might mess up. I don't even know if I'm ready for this. Maybe I should just wait. Like these poor young adults are gonna have to endure me playing this song and singing and like maybe messing things up. And I heard and I thought maybe I should just need more time to get it together. I'm not gonna do it, right? And so I heard the Lord so strongly say, I'm looking for obedience, not perfection. And so I was like, oh, got it, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, Lord. Thank you that you don't require perfection. You're just looking for a heart of obedience. And so I thought, you know what? We're just gonna do it. So I went down and played the song, led worship from that guitar that morning. And it wasn't perfect. Like I know that chords were messed up and all sorts of things, but you know what? Like no one ran out of that room. And I actually learned that perfection and striving for perfection is overrated. But how many times do we put things off? We wait for the right moment, like when I'm ready, when it's ready and I've practiced enough, but we'll be waiting a long time if that's what we're waiting on, because perfect never comes. And the Lord is just saying, he's not asking us to be perfect. You know, he just wants us to be obedient. So I know for me, I've had to over and over in my life, like lay down that desire for things to be perfect so that I can instead be obedient to him and step out. The Lord is after our hearts and wants us to honor him with a life of obedience and not perfection. And that's a relief. You know, you don't have to have it perfect. He just wants you to obey him. It's not about striving to be perfect. It's about bringing our best to the table, and the best that we can bring is a heart of obedience. And I really think, you know, pride is really at the core of striving for perfection, I think, because we don't want to mess up. Like, we don't want people to see us maybe fail. Like, we don't want to put ourselves out there until we've polished it and made it look right. And tell me if you've related to this at all. Sometimes, you know, I'll catch myself being, well, Lord, you know, I just want to bring you excellence. And so I'll step out once it's good enough for you, Father, you know. But truthfully, you just don't want someone to see you mess up. Like, you don't want to put yourself out there and fail, right? So, but the Lord is, it just kind of like, it really just kind of brought such peace to me when he spoke that to me. Like, I'm looking for obedience, not perfection. So we can't be afraid of that process or scared of the process of putting ourselves out there. And then we just kind of give up when we're meant to do something because it's not working, or we're scared, and we think, well, if I was supposed to do this, this wouldn't intimidate me so much, you know. I love Christy Wright. She's the founder of Business Boutique based out of Nashville, and I heard her say at a conference one time, just because it scares you doesn't mean that it's bad or that you shouldn't do it. Like, if the Lord's asking you to do something, just because you're intimidated by it and it's new, that doesn't mean like, oh man, well, I guess I shouldn't do it or else I wouldn't feel this way. A lot of those times are things we actually really need to dive into, especially if it's something the Lord's spoken to you. You've got to just push all that aside and step out into it anyway. I'm going to just wrap up a little bit with a book that I read some time ago. I'll leave you with a few thoughts from it. It's called Finish, Give Yourself the Gift of Done. It's by John Acuff, and it's a powerful book on this very topic. I have it over here. I meant to have it here, but I'm just going to grab it real quick. Sorry, here it is. It's called Finish, so you see it. And it's a powerful book about this very topic of striving for perfection. He says the sneakiest obstacle to meeting our goals is not laziness, but it's perfectionism. We're our own worst critics, and if it looks like we're not going to do something right, we prefer not to do it at all. That's why we're most likely to quit on day 2, the day after perfect, when our results almost always underperform our aspirations. So I encourage you today, ask the Lord to show you areas where you may be striving to be perfect in. You're wanting to get it so right. So you're stalled in your process of stepping out into obedience because you're saying it's not good enough yet. Let him help you move forward, because praise God, he's not asking us to be perfect. He just wants our obedient heart. So let that just bring you peace today. Step out into the thing he's asked you to do, whatever that thing is. Ask him to show you, take you back to the place where he's told you to do something. And you're saying, it's not done, it's not ready yet, Lord, I can't step out yet. And he's saying, I just want you to obey me. You don't have to make it perfect. It just has to be that your heart is willing and obedient to do it. So anyways, well, thank you guys so much for being with me today. Don't forget, at the end of this, hit subscribe if you want to join me for weekly videos like this, just words of encouragement and inspiration, and we'll chat a little bit, and share your smile with someone today. Bless you guys. Bye.